Good afternoon. Like Donnie said, Russell Jones, HPC SysAdmin for Total Energy's Houston R&D HPC team. We're a pretty small team of just a few of us. We're responsible for the full infrastructure, hardware, and software stack for about a half a dozen clusters of various architectures and sizes. And so we're always on the lookout for new technology and applications that can kind of help us work smarter, not harder. And so today I'm here to talk to you about one tool that we have found pretty helpful called Rundeck. So today I'm going to go through just kind of what is Rundeck and why you should care, installation process, the user interface, system config, some use cases for us of how we've used it in the past, how we're still using it right now, and kind of what we want to do in the future, and then just kind of some things to look out for with it. So Rundeck in a nutshell is this kind of like a GUI overlay for your existing scripts. You're still running what you already have on the file system. So bash scripts, Perl scripts, binaries, whatever. But it lets you make a real nice little GUI dashboard on top of it to kind of make it more accessible. Here in Total, we've been using it since about 2017 to manage a really large amount of SysAdmin scripts and processes. This here is a screenshot from Rundeck's GitHub page that I wanted to show you guys. As you can see, it's pretty healthy. This is just kind of a snapshot of the activity on GitHub just over the past 30 days. The first commit on it was in 2011, and then Rundeck was purchased by PagerDuty in 2020. Some commercial versions and support packages are available for Rundeck if your organization kind of requires that when you start using some software. And they do put some features behind paywalls, such as high availability, failed job resume, and single sign-on. But honestly, for us, our use case, we haven't really seen the need to upgrade to a paid version. The basic functionality for it works just fine for us. Installation is really easy. There's a lot of different options, including Docker containers for how you want to run it. Rundeck's just kind of like a big fat Java application. It's a real simple install, at least on RHEL, just a single RPM. And then if you want to have access to the command line interface for it, it's just a second RPM to put on the box. After that, you just kind of configure your database parameters and then the server URL for how you want to access it, and then start it up with systemd, and off you go. The way that Rundeck organizes things is really straightforward. So I'll show you here. This is kind of a screenshot of our projects page on our Rundeck instance. Rundeck contains projects, and then inside of those projects, it contains jobs. This is a screenshot from our systems utilities project with just a few of the jobs that we have inside of there. The jobs themselves contain all the configuration for that job. So the job parameters, the output history of that job, configuration that you want inside of it, they're all contained inside of the jobs themselves. And then, let me back up 1 second here, sorry. Forgot to mention, the configuration for it is also really flexible. So I'll show you here a screenshot for configuration for that job. This here is another job we have called backup our IPA data. The configuration for it is super flexible. So you can configure where you want to run it, when you want to run it, how you want to run it. Scheduling, so you can set up automated schedules for how often you want it to execute. And also you can set up notifications. So you can have it send you an email if you execute that job, or have it send an email if a job fails when you execute it. For our current config, we tend to keep it pretty simple. So all the jobs and scripts that we're running, we just have it executing on the local Rundeck virtual machine itself. Use cases. So one major use case for us is lifecycle management. We are using a job, another screenshot here inside of our AutoNIS project, The job itself is called Create User. We are using Rundeck to automate creating all the user accounts for our systems and everything that accompanies it. So for example, the user directory record, for IP accounts and group memberships, file system folders and quotas for those users, Slurm accounts and associations that go with those user accounts. This Rundeck job takes care of all of it. The standard out for all the jobs is logged inside of Rundeck and is available to view with every single job run. And this here is kind of a screenshot. Hopefully you guys can see it a little bit. This is kind of an example of a screenshot for when that Rundeck job executed for creating a user. Everything that job echoes out will get captured by Rundeck. You're able to log in and view the output from that job. One other thing that's really nice about it that can make it a little bit more accessible is you can create non-admin users and give them access to run certain jobs. You can use Rundeck's ACL to be able to configure what you want that user to have access to and what you don't want them to have access to. Another use case for us is sending mass notifications across all of our clusters. So this is a screenshot from our mass notify job, and it just executes a script that sends a wall message across all of our login nodes, as well as generates a dialog pop-up inside a no machine for any users that are logged in over a remote desktop cluster. This is another just kind of a good example, easy way to provide frontline support tools in more of a controlled fashion so that you can let more junior sysadmins or operators have access to do some of the stuff that maybe you used to do in the past and maybe you don't want to do anymore. Some more use cases. In the past, we had a script called Big Hammer that would terminate all of our leftover processes from failed job runs on clusters. That worked pretty well, but we have since moved it into Slurm's epilogue because we found that that's a little bit of a cleaner way of doing it. Another past use case was a file system top users report. So we would use Robinhood to generate the top user report out of Lustre, so we can go track down users that's using too much data on the file system. That job is on pause also because we have since implemented Robinhood's auto clean. Got to take care of that for us. Another use case that we're currently using still is one that purges our global scratch directory. So we do have a global scratch that's accessible across all the clusters for all the users, kind of help them move data back and forth a little bit. We have a job that goes in there. Any data is not touched for 7 days. We wipe it out with Rundeck. And then a future use case that we do want to use is one-click benchmarking. And so we think there'd be a lot of good use out of having a job in there that we can execute HPL or file system benchmarks whenever new systems come in to be able to just kind of make it easy to be able to execute it. You don't have to remember the job scripts. You don't have to be able to remember how to rerun it. You can set it up, and then whenever that system has maintenance on it, rerun that benchmarking, and you'll be able to use Rundeck to go back and compare your past runs, make sure that the numbers match up, make sure you're still getting the performance that you would expect. The gotcha, something to look out for. With Rundeck, you want to watch out for your execution log growth. Every single job in Rundeck is executed to a flat text file on every single run. It doesn't go into a database, it's all in flat text files. And that can get out of control pretty quickly, and we ran into that in the past. Luckily though, this is a screenshot from our systems utilities project again. There is a tab there that you can configure for execution history clean. And you can see we have it kind of turned on there and set to go ahead and delete any executions that are over a year old. That helps kind of keep it clean. Before they added that feature, we actually had a Rundeck job that would go in and prune all the other Rundeck jobs. So in summary, we found that Rundeck is a really great tool to help us organize and manage our scripts and utilities that we use. We especially like the ability to provide restricted access to those jobs. We have used it to be able to give more junior sysadmins access to take care of some of the functions and utilities that we use. And it's been really great. And we've also found that the visual cron scheduling is pretty handy. It's nice to be able to go in, take a look at the job, see, hey, this can execute in 12 hours. It's a pretty nice, really easy way of kind of managing stuff. And with that, thank you, and I think I have plenty of time for questions.
Any questions? Any of you all using different tools to gather all of your utilities or scripts or things like that together in one place?
Hi, I'm Ari at BP.
Hi.
I was wondering, being able to see like the data you're collecting and everything from a more visual perspective, like have you and your team learned anything, not just about the data you gather, but like the efficiency of the data you gather and like making more efficient best practices for targeting problematic nodes and hardware?
We're not really using it so much for grabbing performance data out of nodes right now. Most of it is more on the system management side. And so a lot of our jobs, let's see if I can back up to another screenshot here that showed the layout of the project. Keep going here. What are slides? Yeah, so this one here. So a lot of the jobs that we have set up right now, this is just a snippet of like about 24 jobs we have under this system utilities project. You can see a lot of it is more management side. So like expired user reports, creating users, backing up switch config, backing up IPA data. That's more the value we found out of right now. That's not to say that it wouldn't have value to be able to, for example, especially the future use case of being able to run like performance jobs and capturing performance data. That would be pretty nice to have, to be able to take a look at, go back and look at the history of it. We just haven't used it that way yet.
And we found that it would help with any turnover on admins because it's sort of self-documenting, and every admin writes scripts and puts them in their own place, and it doesn't force even any particular way to write a script. It just executes what you've done, so it also helps with sort of ramping someone else back up if you've had sort of a turnover with a SysAdmin or something. You don't have to really do a knowledge transfer. It's kind of documented if you're forcing them to put all their scripts into this, which we are.
Yep.
Any other questions? Russell, thank you very much for coming and talking.
Appreciate it.